Here we go. 3, 2.
Thanks, guys.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5th and final instalment of the Dublin GAA Coach Webinar Series in association with AAG. Today's webinar is with Emma and Louise Byrne, developing fundamental movement skills. Just before we hand over, we are going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So if everybody can turn off your mic and turn off your video, that'd be great. You'll see on the screen here as well, it says, please use the Q&A function if you want to pose questions. So on your screen, you should be able to see 2 speech bubbles with a question mark. So if you want to pose your questions into there, that'd be great. If you're posing anything in terms of reflections that you've seen or things that have resonated with you and you want to put it in, put that into the chat function. And that's the speech bubble with the 2 lines across. So again, any questions, please put them in the 2 speech bubbles with the question mark. The last thing for me is that this has been recorded. So this will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow, the Coaching and Games Development page. So the fact that you're on here, you have given us permission for to record. So if you don't want to allow us to record, too bad, because you've already joined. So thank you. I'm going to hand over now to the Dublin GAA Director of Coaching and Games Development, Ger O'Connor.
Thanks, Owen, and hi everybody. Delighted that you could join us for our last webinar series, and hope that you've had an opportunity to get back out onto the field with your teams at whatever age you're coaching. I'm delighted to welcome Emma and Louise, 2 of our games promotion officers, very experienced coaches, and who have been involved in the area of coaching for a long number of years, and have had particular specialty in the area of fundamental movement skills and also around the area of analysis. So tonight's webinar is around just getting our children active, and also about the whole emphasis on fundamental movement skills and promoting that for our children, because obviously if our children are able to move well, then they're able to perform the skills better as well. So tonight will be a really interactive webinar around how we can develop these skills with our players. So thank you, Emma and Louise, and I'm going to hand you over to the 2 girls now.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ger and Owen, and thanks for everybody for joining us this evening. So we are twins, and we do tend to finish each other's sentences, so we'll hold our hands up to that in advance. So again, we've a lot to get through, so we'll get going. So we've got 5 key areas to go through. So first and foremost, we're just going to kind of give you a better understanding and an overview of what fundamental movement skills are, the different categories, and then we're going to just go through a little bit of what the role of fundamental movement skills, particularly and related to the GAA as well. So once we've that done, then we'll be moving on to how to promote it and integrate it into our coaching sessions going forward. And then again, we'll be focusing a lot on resources and tools that you can bring back to your clubs. I know a lot of people are back in the last few days, and hopefully we'll be getting back in the next few days. So again, it's all this knowledge you can take back from all the webinars to date and all you've learned over lockdown, and you can make it really, really beneficial to the children that you're coaching. Okay, so just to set the scene then, Ger actually sent us this video a while back. I just think it's very appropriate for tonight, so it's just a quick little video here just to set the scene for it. So in that just a little short clip, hopefully just give you a better understanding that physical literacy and fundamental movement skills were central to all them movements, be it the little boy boxing, the swimmer, the gymnastics, somersaulting. So again, at this particular age group, if children can master the fundamental movement skills, it can open up the doors to the child participating in all kind of sports going forward in their life. And then the other aspect of that on the first one was about them looking forward to 2032 for Olympic Games as such. So just I suppose in terms of our coaching philosophy, the children we're coaching nowadays, do we have that long-term goal about maybe our 8-year-olds that we're currently coaching when they're 18, what do they look like in terms of, are we just thinking of the outcome in terms of maybe winning a minor title, or are we really considering the person and how we've molded them into the person they are at that age? So in terms of if we can get the foundations right in terms of really good physical literacy, we're really opening up doors for a lifelong participation in sport and a healthy lifestyle, and to be on a good path going forward. So I think that's the real thing as a coach, to instill a love of sport and physical activity. So this is the start here. So over the last while, probably even the last 4 months, probably people haven't valued physical activity enough in terms of maybe children are missing their social interaction with their friends at the local GAA club. So the definition of physical activity, it's a learned behaviour and it tends to track from childhood to adulthood. And then in terms of the parents' responsibility in this, so if the parents or guardians are active, the children are more than 5 times as likely to stay active as well. So that's the importance of the role models as well. So like that family there, if the parents are active, the children are going to be active too. So again, just to set the scene in terms of what we're currently looking at, and then we build on it then. So we've 1 or 2 just kind of research and studies in this area. So there's a children's sports participation and physical activity study done in 2018. So 2 years ago, it looked at over 6,600 children, and they were all from the ages of 10 to 18. And it looked at just physical activity in general. So whether they were traveling to school, commuting to school, it looked at what they were doing outside of school in terms of in the community or with different sports. And then it looked at, say, their PE time, and some really interesting stats come out of it from. So the guidelines state that children should be getting 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per day. So that's 420 minutes in the week. So the key thing then with that, we all know the 60 minutes that everybody needs for general health, but I suppose the moderate to vigorous in terms of that definition. So that would be that they're 63%, they're elevated their heart rate 63% of their max heart rate. So again, that's very hard to see if you're looking at a group of boys or girls out in the pitch, whether they're at that level, at that threshold. But probably an easy way to define it would be that they can maybe a brisk walk or a jog, that they can still hold a conversation with, but maybe that they struggle to sing a song. So that could be a better idea of moderate to vigorous activity and that threshold that we're meeting. So the study showed that boys were more likely to meet the guidelines of meeting the 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity each day than the girls, and that was both at post-primary and primary children. So 17% of primary school pupils and only 10% of post-primary schools met the minimum 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity. This study was also done in 2010, and the research hasn't improved. So it was 19% in 2010 and 12% for post-primary. So again, both age groups or categories went down by 2%. So our physical activity, children aren't meeting the guidelines from 2010 to 2018. So it's important that we're aware of these and the environmental before we kind of worry about what we can do as coaches. So I suppose the one positive from this would be that in terms of a community sport, so GAA would be considered a community sport. So that 80% of primary school children and 58% of post-primary children were actually participating in community sport at least once a week. So sometimes the national governing bodies, be it the GAA, rugby, soccer, or any sport in the community, they're actually affording opportunities for children to meet the 60 minutes as the guideline from the World Health Organization of 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity. So again, in terms of then commuting to school, 42% of primary school pupils and 40% of post-primary pupils actively commuted to school. So that's a good positive from this study. And some barriers they had in terms of commuting to school and travelling was that the distances, obviously difference between rural and urban areas, to be a slight difference there. And also then there was some things about the school bag being too heavy, also even the safe places to cross or safety in an area around the school. I suppose if we're looking at school bags as well, in terms of, I suppose if you're looking at schools and even in coaching, you see them, it's a lot of times they're not carrying them on their backs, they're kind of wheeling them behind them in the suitcases, or I think more so maybe the parents are carrying them the first thing they want to do. So maybe letting the children carry the school bags would be no harm as well. And then there are sedentary leisure time in front of maybe screens, so 5.1 hours per day for primary children and 6.6 hours per day for post-primary. And that was done in 2018. And I just wonder over the last 4 months, obviously the screen time has probably went up through the roof between Google Classrooms and Zoom calls and Microsoft Teams and everything. So that was just some interesting research in this area in 2018. So again, the time they're spending in front of screens or the incidentally, I think us as coaches, if we can kind of come up with creative ways to try and engage them. So this is where we're kind of setting the scene first of all, and then we'll go into more fundamental movement skills then. So this was done last October, so as part of STEM week in one of my schools. So I had access to GPS trackers, and I actually put them on two 5th classes and 2 6th classes, as they did a general GAA class in the school. So it was a range of abilities, literally just 6 at random, and they covered actually 2.5 kilometers in class. So in a 25 minutes, let's say, of activity, it was a 30-minute class. So not too bad to be covering that amount. And again, a lot of that was kind of in groups of 2 or 3 with a little bit of skill work, tag games at the start, followed by like 4v4s, 5v5s in small-sided games. So just to kind of bear in mind that side of things. But when you're planning, and then I think it's just important that in terms of your planning, so I know Donald Doyle and Mark Brennan did a planning session on the webinar in previous weeks, and I think as a coach, do we actually look at the hour that we have access to the children in the week and how active are the children? So the 60 minutes doesn't have to be all in collective. It could be 10 minutes in a PE, 10 minutes at yard time, and then you could have the hour in the evening. But how much of that 60 minutes are the children reaching the moderate to vigorous activity? So are they in lines? Is there one football between 10 children, or are we trying to maximise the space we have, the equipment we have, and the people we have in terms of our coaches? So if it's planned and it's organised, you can go from session to session and try not to waste time between changeovers as well. And probably now, as we go back to return to trainings now, with the little bit extra in terms of the COVID requirements, in terms of ensuring everybody has all them complete, I think if we more so, it's maybe more important that we're actually planned in advance, that we can get our sessions and have maximum activity levels in our sessions. So it's just something to bear in mind now in the current climate. And then just the World Health Organization estimates that Ireland's going to be the most obese country in Europe by 2030. So that's only 10 years away. So it's a scary statistic. 89% of Irish men and 85% will be obese and overweight. They classify overweight as being over 25 of a BMI, or obese is over 30. So again, it's a scary statistic, and that 1 in 4 children are unfit, overweight, or obese. So we can, as coaches, reverse that and keep retaining the players that we have and try to get them as fit and as active and having fun, first and foremost. So a lot of these statistics are quite frightening, and at least it's data that backs it up. So it's not just that somebody's saying this, it's numerous data that we have a list of references at the end there as well. So again, we all know the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. So again, healthy lifestyle will reduce the chances of loads of numerous diseases such as cardiovascular, heart disease, diabetes, and numerous cancers. And again, then I suppose from a government point of view, our healthcare systems, in terms of if we have a healthier population, again, the strain on our health system won't be as big. So again, reduced financial expenses, and then again, loads of benefits of sport for children. So increased academic performance, increased mood, they'll have better concentration. So even on a rainy day, if the children are inside for a long period of time and they don't get a chance to get some exercise, they're very, very different. So again, we all know the benefits of it. So if we can just try and keep pushing that, and again, if there's lower levels of cardio fitness, it's obviously higher, then higher BMI, and then again their confidence and self-esteem will suffer too. So it's kind of a knock-on effect. And again, if we can try and make the habits now, small habits now, to really give them a chance from a young age. Okay, so it's nearly sad that this is the case, but there's actually a disorder called exercise deficient disorder. So Avery Feigenbaum and Greg Myers, so they're pediatrician researchers in America. So people or children can be actually diagnosed with reduced levels of moderate physical activity. So if they're not reaching 60 minutes a day, actually can be prescribed this condition. So again, they're not going to get the health benefits that was outlined in the previous slide, that they're not as active and maybe they're too much time in front of screens and everything else. So that's something just to bear in mind. So technology, I suppose, in the last 3 or 4 months, it's been crucial to all our lives in terms of keeping everybody engaged. But I think the children, a lot of them are addicted to these computer games, and they're very addictive, and numerous research there. But I think if we can embrace technology, we can really try and mirror physical activity with technology too. So here's some examples here. So in that study that in 2018, 50% of children actually owned a smartwatch. So smartwatch would be one that would be capable of tracking steps, etc. So a lot of children would come out to classes or in the club, and they'd tell you how many steps they've done beforehand, and you'd make sure that you try and emphasize how many did you do afterwards, like what was the difference in the in the class, whatever else. So even the different initiatives in school, be it the food dudes, they were given stepometers and they were allowed to track their steps over certain days. So I suppose not being obsessive about these step counters or anything else, but it could be a really good way of trying to get children to understand a little bit more about exercise and trying to maybe have a target in mind to reach per day, but not obsessing over too, which is important. So again, a lot of children are kind of hooked on and tied to the computer screen or the games, but even the flossing and dabbing and all came from different games, Fortnite or whatever games they're playing. So if we can mirror them and bring them and engage them into our sessions, so be it we're trying to do a catch and we're trying to get them to floss and then catch the ball, or dab and catch the ball, it will help us too. So trying to embrace technology a little bit more in that side could help us. Again, probably technology gets a bad name for maybe decreasing physical activity. Now I know there's some computer games out there now and you're probably not meeting the moderate to vigorous activity levels performing them, but Nintendo Wii, you could be striking bowling or tennis or something like that. And then even the new games are kind of all VR and virtual reality and all them kind of games too. So again, it's probably not what we want people in front of screens, but if they're going to be on a screen, maybe if they're standing up in front of the sofa, maybe performing some sort of exercise, it might be a bit better than lying on the sofa playing your games as normal. So then you can see schools kind of really, and I think things are going to change going down the line. So I know different schools in America and different countries that kind of use projectors to project images onto a wall, or like this will be a sports hall here. If you can see it from the picture, I know it's a bit small, but maybe they're doing an overhand throw and they're trying to get the targets, be it insects or whatever, or bugs on the wall. Again, here they're continuously moving on a sort of a bike to kind of keep playing a game, or again, kind of all that. So I think technology, that's coming down the tracks as well. So dancing as well can be incorporated. Even TikTok has been a craze over the last while, and even in terms of GAA, Orla Farmer would have done an awful lot of research in terms of like Gaelic for girls and incorporating dance moves and sequencing, incorporating the football skills and incorporating music. So again, that's something to look into too in terms of maybe engaging different areas and trying to embrace it rather than trying to, if they're addicted to computer games, you're not going to get them to move from it straight away. But I think small subtle things that if we're trying to incorporate that into our coaching sessions could help, and again trying to implement where possible too. And both myself and Louise got afforded an opportunity to coach GAA in China a few years ago, and I think one thing that stuck to us was maybe the culture and maybe how much physical activity was valued as in a country. So we would have coached in international schools and the facilities that they had, and even in terms of just regular mornings, we'd be going to schools and you'd see all the boys, girls, mums, dads, grandads, grannies in parks doing Tai Chi and kind of even the exercise equipment. They were all arranged. And I know even in Ireland, these exercise kind of equipment are all kind of dotted around different parks and stuff. And I just wondered how much they're utilised. So obviously it'd be queuing up for them now and disinfecting everything down, but it's just something interesting to note. Okay, so here's just a little quick video about change in behaviour. Video like that in terms of fun, so that it was Volkswagen did, and they're saying it's the fun theory, so how to change behaviour based on fun. So again, they had good success there. We're not saying that all clubs in Dublin or wherever you're listening from today should install piano keys on your stairs, but it's just to try and think fun will will change behaviour in a small way. And it's all about habits. So again, if we're making them a bit more conscious of it, so if we can try and take that principle into our coaching going forward, it might help too. So then we're going to just look at what does physical literacy mean. So physical literacy incorporates 4 main areas. So the physical literate child should have the motivation, so they're willing to come down to the pitch or willing to come to the class. They have the knowledge, so they understand the value of maybe the skills they're learning, and maybe they see a lifelong involvement in the sport. They also have the confidence to keep trying and maybe try a new skill, that they're not afraid. And also they have the physical competence or the skills to perform in that setting. So, and they value and take responsibility for engagement and physical activity for life. And that's probably one of our ethos, is that children that we coach hopefully value and want to be participating in sport or physical activity for duration. And the foundations of that, like a long-term involvement in sport, is if we can get the fundamentals right. So I suppose one thing here with the confidence side of things, I think on a day-to-day basis in the school or the clubs, and a lot of people working with children will understand, but when you're working with children, if you're saying that you're going to do a new skill or a new game today, the first thing they might say is actually, I can't. And that's very sad, that they're nearly afraid in your environment too. So again, it's massive in terms of child's confidence. And even after this lockdown, the children will be in a different place, and we need to be able to know that and try and adapt our sessions to suit that and build them up slowly. Okay, so FMS then, so they're the building blocks of sport. The window of opportunity, they reckon from the research, is 8 years of age. So it doesn't mean just because you haven't mastered the fundamental movement skills by 8, you can still teach them, but that's the window of opportunity, the prime opportunity to practice the fundamental movement skills. And it's just affording them then opportunities to play then as well, so giving them the opportunities to work on them too. So there's 3 different categories. So locomotor is movement, so moving your body from A to B, so that could be skipping, jumping, running, crawling, for various examples there. The next one is body control and stability, so single leg balance, double leg balance, all of that. And then object control, which incorporates an object, so it could be a tennis racket, or in terms of PA, it could be a hurl. So again, your overarm throw, underarm throw, moving an object, incorporating both. So when we know these categories, I suppose if we're looking at then our inter-county players in action, so from all these photographs you can see a number of the 3 elements there in the photographs. So you could have locomotor skills in terms of Owen Morton running at pace down Crow Park. You might have Niamh McAvoy jumping up for a ball, so in terms of she's running, then she's doing a locomotor skill. She has an object control, which is the football, and then different other movements in terms of rotation, striking a ball, or having the coordination to them. So we have to look at the fundamental movement skills as the basics, and then the movement patterns all follow on. And I suppose particularly then maybe when we're looking at maybe the nursery age group or an academy age group, I think a lot of people would expect to see this level of skills down at the academy straight away. But I suppose this is only the tip of the iceberg. This is what you see, but what you don't see underneath the water in terms of is all the FMS. So again, any skill, be it a catch, let's say a high catch, is so many of the different functional movement functional movement patterns, first of all, to build into a skill, first of all. So again, they might raise a few eyebrows over maybe why there's beanbags, or why are they not sideline cutting the ball. So again, it's step by step and build it up then, and then we'll be able to perform the skills like these in the pictures. So then there was a research done, Stephen Behan, who's a former GPO, so he did an awful lot in the area of fundamental movement skills. He tested over 2,000 primary school children from all over Ireland, and then results showed that 1 in 4 cannot run, 1 in 2 cannot kick football, let's say, and that less than 1 in 5 can throw. So if you even just take them 3 fundamental movement skills, a run, a throw, and a kick, how many skills is that maybe closing the door on that you can't perform because you can't run, throw, or kick? And again, I think the more interesting one would be that the worrying part maybe a little bit would be that FMS development in children stop progressing or plateau at the age of 10. So it means that our coaching from 10 and below, it needs to really, really improve and really focus in on FMS again. So just working on that. So then looked at the 15 different fundamental movement skills, and if you look at the blue line across, so this shows that 75.3% could master the run. Whereas if you go down the bottom, kind of towards the end, underarm roll, only 37%, and overhand throw, only 16% could master it. And they looked at it on a criteria basis, so they had many criteria that they had to tick to master that specific skill, that if you could repeat it, they'd perform each time. It was an interesting study. and they were all Irish children in schools all around the country. So again, it's great that as coaches we can use this data and really tailor our coaching to suit that. So I suppose a lot of GPOs in Dublin and ourselves were involved in the phase 2 of this project. So it involved testing a 6-week intervention and then a retest on function movement. And then it was 30 minutes of a class, and then the teacher had to replicate that again. And most of the classes were between first and second class boys and girls, and they had an awful lot of kind of little activities in the classroom, so kind of energising to do it every day, and the teachers did them with them, and then they had homework sheets as well and activities, and they used Go Noodle video. So again, I was trying to bring technology into the classroom and maybe doing some energizer between your maths and your English or whatever subjects they were doing that day. And it was very like the computer game that they unlocked. So if they did their exercises over certain days, they unlocked little video before they went home. So it was very reward based as well, kind of a little bit linking into computer games. We left the footballs and the slitters and the helmets and the hurls outside in the car for them classes. So it was great. It was very good for ourselves as well in terms of our own development, linking in with that project. So so again, in terms of role of FMS, so high levels of FMS competence in childhood are related to a number of health and physical activity outcomes then. So they were kind of covered on the previous slides as well. And then the research showed that if a child was proficient in FMS as a young child, they're more active as teenagers and have a greater chance of maintaining the good health and better fitness in later life. And that's all we want. We want our children keeping active. So maybe our 8-year-old now, if we see them again in 10 years' time, that hopefully they're still active in some way or some capacity. And then the fundamental movement skills, children don't acquire them naturally, so they need to be actually taught them. So the role of the coach is actually to work on FMS with the children they're coaching. The children that learn FMS they're more likely to play and participate in different sports. So you often hear of maybe the all-round child or a player in your class. They can pick up tennis racket, they can pick up a hurl, they can pick up football. So again, sometimes that all-rounder has all them skills, so they all have the fundamental movement skills. And maybe they have the confidence and the motivation to keep trying, and maybe they have that little resilience and also the support from mainly their parents maybe at home, or they've older siblings that they keep practicing and trying different skills, and they're not afraid to try something new too. So again, then if we're moving on to kind of how we promote and integrate into our coaching sessions, so I suppose promoting it first and foremost is probably getting a better understanding of it first of all. So even education wise, so a lot of it would be incorporated onto any coaching course. But again, even educating parents that maybe when they want to look at their academy, that they're wondering why are their beanbags being used, why are all these movements, and where's the skills. So again, if we can kind of see that the FMS is the baseline, the foundations, and then the running, jump and throwing, and then the sports skills on top of that. So it's a layered process, and if they can understand that, you're getting a better grasp that maybe then they can work on that at home also, that they're working on catching or movement, whatever it is. And then I suppose making it age appropriate as well. So using your cues. So even when you're jumping, tell them that they're jumping over a crocodile, that their hands are wet and you're trying to skite your hands away. So again, using cues that children will understand, and it's not adult language, it's children that will understand, and trying to utilize cartoons as well. We mentioned before, just in terms of our planning our session, so you might have a child that comes down on a Saturday morning to your academy or your mini leagues, and you mightn't pick up a hurl or a football or do any exercise from one Saturday to the other. So you want to have the maximum activity levels for that whole hour. So even if you think of a tag game for 2 minutes, I play for 10 seconds and I get a caught straight away. Majority of our tag games, we normally isolate or leave someone out. So if I'm caught within 10 seconds, I'm not going to get any fitter, I'm not going to get any confident, my self-esteem isn't going to get any better. So again, if I can try to incorporate all your activities in the one, that's the way we should try to structure our sessions. And in terms of then parent involvement, so normally with nurseries, we try to get a lot of parents in because children feel comfortable in that environment, and then gradually either they become mentors or supporters, and gradually child gets confident, and then they might say, bye mum, bye dad, I don't need you, in terms of parent involvement as well. And then, as Emma said there, you want the children actively engaging with physical activity from 1 week to the next. So again, home activities, that it's not nearly a chore, it's fun, they want to do it. So if it's a clapping challenge and they're coming running back to you, look what I've done, I went from 3 to 4. Or think about it as well, the knock-on effect. So if you can get 20 people in you're coaching, if it's the under 8s, under 9s, and then they're going home and they're practicing the one catch or whatever you worked with them, and then all of a sudden then you're influencing their siblings, younger or older, or you're influencing their parents, and all of a sudden then you're increasing not just one person's catch, but you're increasing a bigger fold the whole time. So small things like that. And again, variety. So even I suppose in the virtual sessions in this current climate, using beans that's in as cans as markers, because no one will have cones, making your own bean bags out of rice and socks, using socks a lot of the time as well for throwing exercises and different teddy bears as well, and having a little bit of fun that way with them, and they were their oppositions and we're trying to get around them and different things like that. So again, just being creative in it too, and trying to really ask questions about what the children are watching, what are they watching, what cartoons are popular, what games are popular, and then trying to integrate your coaching with it. And then I suppose the fun again, like that stairs, the fun theory. So again, if we can make it fun, people will change their habits based on that. So then just simple ways that we can integrate fundamental movement skills. So it doesn't have to take up 20 minutes of your session, but I think if you look back and look at your overall session, a lot of your fundamental movement skills you might be doing already, you just don't know. So in terms of a warm-up, so simple tag games, you have a lot of locomotor skills, so you could be jumping, you could be leaping, you could be running, you could be having an object control, so it could be a dodgeball, I could be tagging Louise with a dodgeball, that's object control, or even in terms of stability or body control, in terms of I could be like stuck in the mud, or it could be a bridge, a river crossing a bridge. So they're simple ideas that you can incorporate in a warm-up that you're already probably doing. And then energizers, in terms of sometimes the children come into your session might not like the sports side of things, and they might really thrive on the fun games and all the FMS side of things. So again, having a place for them in your games too, and even at least it's not just in the warm-up, it could be an energizer when they're moving from a skill to a skill. It just kind of reinvents it, and then again they're getting a lot out of it too then, yeah. And some children it's more suitable to home activities then as well, so again getting them working at home. So simple ideas could be when they're watching during the TV ads, you could get them to practice some fundamental movement skill. It could be balancing one foot, or even when they're brushing their teeth, balancing one foot. Simple ideas that they can do at home with minimal equipment. It could be a cushion, test for protection of the ankles and everything else. And then encouraging practice. So even in the schoolyards, so a lot of the schoolyards have lovely paintings of snakes and kind of for balance and jumps from 1 to 2, or using their hands for frog jumps, or even the simple hopscotch. But you'd be surprised how many children really struggle with a basic movement such as hopscotch. So I think if we expose them to it in our sessions wherever we're coaching, and then again they can replicate it at home with chalk or socks, whatever they have at home, to utilize it at home. And that sports specific skills will become easier to pick up if the children have the essential fundamental movement skills mastered. And the key word there is essential. So some people maybe we tend to use the word basic, and I think if we have that connotation with as basic, it's low level, whereas if we say it's essential movement skills, today we're learning an essential movement skill of a catch or a throw or balance, it probably gets a bit more buy-in to everybody. Yeah. So again, our language is crucial there as well. So I suppose then the lack of functional movement, fundamental movement, so obviously if you reduce development of your fundamental movement skills with a child, you're going to have reduced motor skill competence. So when you add in maybe the sports specific or the more movement skills, they're not going to be confident in their movement, so maybe that will obviously increase their sedentary behaviour, so not maybe participating in school, maybe at PE or at yard time, and then that's going to increase their disease risk factors we mentioned before, and it's going to have adverse health outcomes as well. So that's not, we don't want the FMS vortex to come into play here, big and bomb as well. So this is kind of like in terms of if it was a 5 or 6 year old girl in junior or senior infants in any school, that if they're on the schoolyard, it can be kind of a quite nasty place in terms of the schoolyard. So if the child hasn't been exposed to like a catch or can't catch, a lot of the children will exclude, or they'll exclude themselves, so they're not necessarily going to be past the ball. So again, then their confidence, they might shy away from physical activity, and again that's kind of on that narrow pathway there on the right hand side that we don't want our children being on. So again, a small thing like that could make a massive difference. And maybe that child maybe is then at secondary school, maybe they're the ones that's writing a note saying can't do PE today, or maybe leaving their PE gear on the bus. So again, we don't want to close that door, and we want to cater for all areas of physical activity throughout life, and not just to stop it because they had a negative experience with it. We want to make it as fun and as positive for everybody so that they'll stay with it. So in terms of the long-term athletic development model, so from Bally, so again, a lot of sports cover this, but again, just to kind of see where fundamentals are based on this. So again, an active start in that video earlier on, I suppose a lot of them were pros in terms of the different sports, but fundamentals come in at the ages of 6 to 9 there, first of all, and then the fundamental sports skills are built on top of that then in the learning to train phase. So there's the real focus of it there, and then you can work on, say, your tactical and your physical strength then, and obviously then high performance with training to win. But probably the most important thing is that we want them active for life. So the GAA have kind of play and stay with the GAA, so you go through all the levels and then you come back around and you're still involved in some capacity or another. And in terms of like your active start, that's your rudimentals, and then it builds up across the different age groups. And people are only going to stay and stay with it if they're enjoying it as well. So again, it's making it as fun as possible. And again, by us really focusing in on FMS with the children, it's given them the real opportunity to develop and thrive going forward. And it's so much easier to then work on your sport specific skills as well once they have the fundamental movement skills mastered. And some children prefer that. So I'm in some schools, and there's one school in particular that I do a Tuesday would be DA focus, and then on a Thursday morning session, I focus on athletic development, kind of a lot of fundamental movement skills. So again, you can really see their confidence build from week to week, particularly in the fundamental movement skills. And then they're more willing to try maybe the sport specific skills. And actually, when you work on a lot of catching and movement and coordination skills on a Thursday, the following Tuesday, you can run, you're trying to get them to strike a slitter or a ball against the wall. Their skills are a lot better, and they're finding it way more easier. So again, fundamental movement skills are crucial to then develop your more sport specific skills on top of that. So again, here's just a quick little video of some of the virtual sessions. And again, it's kind of utilising a lot of equipment that might be at home. So there's a very just quick video here. So there's toilet rolls,
run for steps, like this, you over the thing, they're going to get hold. See, can I get two hands. Right then, keep it loose. Whoa, can we get a tackle? Everybody.
Again, just some pretty simple games that we're just utilising pots or toilet rolls, and again some sport specific skills there too, but again the focus on them practicing at home from week to week to the next session as well, even in a restricted environment. So the key probably to fundamental movement skills is that you incorporate maybe language they understand. So for instance, the pot, we call them meatballs, you're throwing the meatballs into your dinner pot. So again, ice cream cones. So it's trying to use cues that they can relate to, or even in terms of when you're demonstrating some skill or a jump, you're telling them what it feels like, or even sometimes it's the discovery learning. So getting them to try, can you land on one foot? Can you land on two? Which feels more comfortable? So again, it doesn't have to be as structured as well. Just before we worked with DGAA, we worked with Playball, so it was a multi-sport company, and our main focus was working on fundamental movement skills with creche age children up to primary school. So again, it was balance and simple exercise that they can do. Our ethos was a lot of it on FMS, and it's kind of carried throughout our coaching career as well, and using stories that they'll relate to too. So again, then with our Masters in Strength and Conditioning, our elective, then we chose to specialise in paediatrics, which was really interesting, and I suppose we were doing it day in, day out, and really learned a lot from it too. So we were involved then in designing an 8-week program, and then a test and a retest beforehand. So we'll show you some of the exercise now in the next slide. So it was Step Start is what we called it. So it was structured training exercise program, and focused on a lot of FMS was the main of it, and then just showing ideas and getting them to practice at home as well. The session was mainly 45 minutes in duration, and it catered for children from the ages of 4 up to kind of 10. And the main aim was to try to just get them active for the 45 minutes and incorporate a lot of fun games and warm games. And then we had kind of little 4 exercises in the middle where it incorporated balloons and little exercise like that, and worked a lot on your fundamental movement skills, catching, throwing, kicking, balancing as well. A lot of this then also was in getting the parents involved. So the parents of the children, you were giving them feedback throughout. So you were giving them a report to show how they were getting on, what to practice at home, giving them some tips, telling them what they were good at. And again, that incorporating the parents was very positive in that sense. And again, I think in everything, if we incorporate the parents and they can see really all the work that's going on to it and the benefits of it, it really helped them then from week to week. So here's just a little quick video of some of the games that were done at this. So we just did them up to show you if we were in a practical, it might be easier to use doing them, but there's no sound on this either. So
Again, you probably can't underestimate balloons. You can do so much with them, and I think even the creative play. So if you give children a balloon, and they'll come up with all the exercises in the world, and they probably won't get bored as well. So sometimes that free play, maybe at the beginning of a session, is really good for children, and let them discover what way they want to move or what way they want to use a balloon or throw an object.
And having a mixture of maybe cooperative and then individual work as well works. So even like reaction here to a beanbag and a ball, a balloon. So again, they fall at different paces. So again, everybody's at their own pace. Hopefully this is coming out clear enough to everybody. And just sliding beanbags.
Even resistance training movement. So your squat, your lunge, hinge, different movement patterns that you can incorporate with simple exercises or minimal equipment and minimal space needed.
So again, we would have tied them a lot into this time of the year. It happened to be actually between Halloween and Christmas. So we were using kind of pumpkins or whatever else. This was kind of going across the cliffs and you had to pull yourself up. So again, stories that really could relate to the children. And again, bit of strength work as well with the children. This was Slimy Slug. Again, pulling the
doing very well during our virtual sessions. Mums and dads were happy to put very liquid underneath the child, and the floors got polished and everything as well. So it was a win-win.
And again, just simple stepping stones. So again, in our virtual sessions, we might not have the raw mats like in the video here, but it was, let's say, using socks, using teddy bears, rescuing their teddy bear, and then maybe then color coordinating that has maybe just use the one color then to move around. Simple balancing. So a lot of these can be done at home. Very little equipment needed for any of these, or you can utilize what's there.
From a GSF, and you could just use your whole balance on a whole. And then cooperative, different games as well. Just gives you different ideas of what was covered, snippet of what was covered. And again, these can be used as energizers or
in between your
sessions.
And again, incorporating the jabbing or whatever's popular at that stage.
Or even teach a skill from the ground up.
Yeah.
As well.
So comfortable. This was the checkout that they were scanning their groceries, so small things like that, just to give you a better idea of it. There's just a selection. Balance and beanbags.
Primitive movement patterns in terms of animal movements, walking like ducks, monkeys, bears, you name them. Even the children will come up with a lot of these movements themselves.
And then maybe trying to get the beanbag off each other also. Okay, so there's just a better idea maybe of what was involved in the step start. So again, as part of our mastering as well, we were involved in fitness testing. So again, a bit more performance based, but just again to give you a guide, because this was based on under 8 to under 18 players, GAA players in our two clubs, so Skerries and St. Vincent's. So again, it was testing over a battery of 9 tests. So height, weight, flexibility, speed, agility, endurance, standing long jump, counter movement jump, and seated med ball throw. So it tested over 800 players just to try and get normative data back in 2017. So again, I suppose some of the data that we can send on this anyway by the slides, but just to try and establish normative data that if someone was to do a jump again and they get their score, they can kind of see where they are across their age groups for their gender and from their age across the percentiles. So again, from that data in 2017, both of us actually would have retested a lot of our teams throughout the years and actually see how they progressed then throughout the years, and try and then give workshops to the coaches involved and try and maybe see trends or predict trends that were coming in the line to see what exercise you could do if it was flexibility exercise to try and help the player. So again, we're probably very data driven in ways. So again, it's just to try and help the people on the ground, and it's data. So in terms of just other resources that we'd like to draw your attention to, the activity planner, there's a Leinster GAA Nush resource there, Dublin GAA Coaching and Games, the channel, YouTube, all the different webinars now are going to be on that. The PDST then was the resource that was used in conjunction with the Move Well, Be Well study in the different schools. So again, there's so many resources there. And then again, social media platforms. So it's just reaching out. There's so much resources there, particularly for FMS. But I suppose it's now just to try and see that FMS is the foundation, and a good foundation will lead for a long lifetime involvement in sport.
I think it's then important just as a coach maybe that you value fundamental movements, but also maybe give the opportunity to children for maybe that free play, that let them come up with their own movements and see, wonder what skill that's working on, wonder which fundamental movement skill that exercise is working on too, and maybe look at your plan and kind of see maybe is a child maybe struggling with a specific skill and maybe what fundamental movement skill is lacking, and that can you incorporate maybe for next training session 1 or 2 maybe fun games that hopefully will improve that specific aspect you're looking for, and hopefully then the skill will be more easier to get at the end of it. Again, there's the list of kind of a number of the resources there inside and some of the studies inside. And again, I suppose just one thing maybe to kind of finish on or to be aware of, like a coach will impact more young people in 1 year than the average person does in a lifetime. So it's important that that's positive. And I think really if we're looking at that first video there about them looking forward to the Olympic Games in 2032 and that gymnastics as such, right, forget about the Olympics or forget about a national title or a county title. But really think about what that person's going to be like in 10 years time, 12 years time when they're an adult. If you meet them in 20 years time, what are you going to hope for them? You're going to hope that they've had a positive experience when you've been coaching them, but you're going to really hope that you've shaped them and that they have been involved in sport, and then subsequently their children or whatever, they've got a lifetime involvement in sport. And again, it does start from the FMS and a really good foundations. And fun and enjoyment and valuing the person first and foremost is probably crucial to all that too.
If there's any questions there.
Class girls, well done. I have a couple of questions, but I want to go to the Q&A. So a question just came in there. How can you try to keep children active daily if the parents are working? So a little bit of kind of how can you engage parents? You touched on that a little bit, but if you let the coach know about how you engage the parents in terms of the nursery kids within Vincent's and Scary's.
Yeah, so I suppose like it's, let's say the Scary's plan, let's say, so we work in 3 terms, so there'll be certain skills that you'd work on each term. So a lot of the time then you give that plan actually to the parents so they can go home and see, all right, Emma's working on hand pass, and then they can actually replicate the game, so they can actually see the exact games they're doing, and they can try. I know you might be doing the games with 4 and 5 and 6 other children, but again, there can be adaptations that they can make, and they can do that same game or something similar to it at home. It could be the tag game they did at the start. It could be the few stretches. It could be the few fun challenges. So I think if the parents see it in their hands and have it as a sheet or a take-home message. And again, you're really trying to get the children to work on, like if they got 2 catches this week, really go home and try 3, and then really reward children that, oh, Emma's been practicing, how many times have you been practicing? And I suppose the one thing is you probably say to them, who's been practicing? And they've all said to put their hands up, oh yeah, I've been practicing. But I suppose maybe it's your question like deeper. When did you practice? Who did you practice with? What did you practice? Asking 3 simple questions, you'll find out the hands will start coming down a bit more.
Class, and kind of on that, on some of your videos, so the person who asked that question, it's anonymous, so I don't know the name, but excellent question. And I know in my question kind of going to relate to that. I'm going to go back to kind of your skill sessions and your virtual sessions. So when you were using the toilet roll and when you were using all the stuff around the house, did you, and I know obviously you guys are back, you have had 1 or 2 sessions with your children. Were you finding the children were finding the virtual sessions really beneficial? And have you seen, I know it's a little bit early, but have you seen an improvement or more engagement through the virtual sessions because they've been working on stuff at home?
Yeah, I think our aim at the start, and any of his coach, particularly like a lot of GPOs have been running virtual sessions, and it's that engagement. I know through a screen isn't the equivalent of coaching them in person. I think it's the second best alternative, and we were obviously using Microsoft Teams, so there was no screen on and stuff like that. But I think that's what children miss, is that interaction. But I haven't seen the mini leagues or many yet until we hopefully be back soon enough. But I think just giving the parents maybe the 30 minutes on a Saturday morning of just activity and getting them involved and keeping in touch with a club in some shape or form, which is important, I think. Even the feedback, so you'd see like they'd put up photographs of them practicing during the week, so it wasn't on Saturday morning, they'd show pictures of them in the garden practicing the certain 2 or 3 or 4 games that were new, let's say last week, and they were really sending them in and then putting a little slideshow together that all the other children could see the slideshow and they could see all their teammates performing the skills. So if they felt that their friends were doing it, I suppose that maybe encouraged them to do it themselves maybe a little bit.
Yes. And the last one for me, you talked earlier on about the importance of involving the children in their sessions. So in terms of your own research, your own experience, and kind of something that us coaches want to try and do more is engage with the children and ask them what they want and what their needs are. So how vital is that in terms of their own motivations and also their own competencies as well, that they're involved and that they get a chance to make their own decisions and decide what fundamental movement skills they want to do.
So I suppose even in the let's say in the schools more so, that when they were in the class you'd have the varying levels of ability, but sometimes the more reserved child that mightn't have as enough confidence, but then they might have the best idea of a new skill or something else. So it's kind of going over to them maybe one-on-one and saying, have you got a new idea? And then you maybe get 2 or 3 others over there, and then instead of that one child then in front of the class doing it, it's 3 or 4, and you can see their confidence increasing and increasing. And I think
make an example of the child.
Yeah, they expect you to kind of do everything. You're the hero in their eyes, but I think for them to do it themselves, it's very, very more powerful maybe for themselves. And it's kind of that discovery learning that, and I think then the children then were practicing, or that was Jimmy's drill or Mary's drill during the week, or their little challenge. I think that was really
I'm going to be willing to try. And I know Louise mentioned earlier in terms of the word I can't, and maybe as coaches sometimes we say, oh no, I wouldn't be fit to coach the under-9s. I think the confidence is crucial both from a coach's perspective and the child, but if they can see maybe a peer doing it, they're maybe more willing. And sometimes it's the children actually coach themselves, so it's like, oh, Louise tried to throw it up a little bit higher and you'll get a better catch. And I think that's really powerful to see the children are working together, because at the end of the day that's their team and that's their social aspect to it.
Yeah, you're getting them to do different roles as well. See if they can be a coach, and there being many coaches or many referees, but they're getting that competence in another aspect. Yeah, that is it from me. There's one question we answered that was in the group. Jer has flown off because he's away to pick up his daughter. So just before we do finish, Jer, I would like to thank you for coming on under our last webinar. It was a great way to finish, and it's something that will resonate, I know, with a lot of the coaches on this, but also when we put it up on YouTube tomorrow, and you get a lot of hits. And in terms of your research, your theory and practice, putting it together, marrying things together so that there is an evidence-based approach, which is exceptional. That was a lot of work that you put into that, and the people who are on this will have easily seen that. So Gareth, sincere thanks on behalf of obviously Dublin GAA, and really enjoyed that. Just before we do finish, guys, I would like to thank obviously the Gareths again, but our previous webinar guests, Donald Doyle, Mark Brennan, Nisha Waldron, Damien Quigley, Dr. Brian Cullen, and obviously Emma and Louise. All our videos from tomorrow will be up on our YouTube channel, and the Girls video will be going up tomorrow morning, so they can be viewed as much as you can. Please take on board what the Girls have said. It's powerful in terms of getting the children involved in their own sessions. The fact of movement, fundamental movement skills is so important, locomotor, object control, ball manipulation, and it creates a fun element and enjoyment, and you can get the parents involved in that as well, and you're involved in their learning. Girls, again, sincere thanks. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
No worries. Thank you. So all the best.